Hi, everyone. I thought I'd start the meeting a couple of minutes early to let you all trickle in. Please let me know if you can hear me. I'm flying blind until you do, talking to myself. Um, yes, Fiona, great. All right, well, on that basis, I will get started, even if I'm just talking to you, Fiona, and Susan as well. Thank you. And Natalie, brilliant, excellent. All right, well, this is a hot topic. We've had a lot of people register for this webinar, so I'm very excited to be bringing it to you. I know how busy you are. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. And this is a hot topic, this webinar. My name is Sarah Bartholomeusz. I'm the principal of U Legal, a law firm that specialises in helping medical and allied health practices with legal compliance, risk management, and corporate governance. And I'm very excited to have you with me for this 30-minute webinar. We know how busy you are, so we're going to keep this session practical and focused on the key things that you need to know. Our webinars always start with this disclaimer. This presentation is for general guidance only. Legal advice does need to be taken in relation to specific issues and actions as well. Who am I? Well, I just explained that. And look, I want to start by saying, actually, I know one of my very best friends is on this webinar today, and I wanted to say happy birthday to her before I really get started, because I knew when I registered this webinar in my calendar that it was her birthday. So I was thrilled to see her register for it. It's nice to spend this time with you all on this special day. I'm also the author of this book, Growing a Medical Practice from Frustration to a High Performance Business. And it's really a guidebook for medical practice owners and practice managers in the legal part of, it also includes some strategy and risk as well, legal strategy, risk for running a medical practice and growing it to be a thriving business. So have a look on our website if you haven't heard of that one before. You can probably pick up Christmas presents this time of year. I'm already starting to think about Christmas. I'm not sure about you. I'm very passionate about helping medical and health professionals protect their businesses, having previously worked as a litigator and seeing how things can go wrong in businesses where they haven't been set up right. I know from experience that it's easier to make sure you have the right documents and agreements in place rather than dealing with fires that come to your door. So on that cheerful note, I'll get started into the content. Artificial intelligence, as we all know, is transforming the way that healthcare operates. Increasingly, it's being used as a tool for improving diagnostics and reducing the administrative burden of running a medical practice. At the same time as these technologies evolve, regulation is catching up. Late last year, Ahpra released its guidance, Meeting Your Professional Obligations When Using AI in Healthcare, which sets clearer expectations for how health professionals must approach AI ethically and responsibly. The guidance introduces new expectations and accountability, informed consent and transparency. In practice, this means while AI can certainly assist practitioners, the practitioner, not the tool, remains accountable for the outcome. Practitioners must also be transparent when AI is used in patient care and obtain informed consent whenever patient data is collected, stored, or analysed. Importantly, the risk of non-compliance is significant. We're talking about potential professional sanctions under Ahpra, exposure to data breaches if systems aren't properly secured, and reputational damage that can be hard to recover from. So while AI has enormous potential to improve efficiency and patient outcomes, these new expectations remind us that its use must always align with the same professional and ethical standards that guide every other aspect of clinical practice. It's about using this innovation safely, legally, and transparently, because at the end of the day, accountability in healthcare still begins and ends with the human professional. Ahpra's guidance outlines key principles practitioners should follow to align with the regulations and meet their professional obligations. Case studies are also made available directly on the Ahpra website and are updated as this area continues to develop. At a glance, here's what you need to be aware of. Accountability remains front and centre. Even when AI assists, the practitioner is still responsible for the outcome. And we know that AI always wants to please us, but sometimes it does make mistakes. So it hallucinates. It also can put a not where there shouldn't be, or not put a not where there should be, which really can change notes if you're using an AI scribe as a practitioner. Understanding means knowing how your AI systems work and what the limitations are, and also being aware of any bias that the data uses. Transparency requires you to tell patients when AI is involved in their care, and informed consent means getting their permission before using tools that process or store their personal or sensitive information, which healthcare providers are always doing, taking that personal and sensitive information. And we know you have privacy obligations in relation to that too. If you've missed last month's webinar, it's all about the updates to the Privacy Act, and was our most highly subscribed to webinar of all time, honestly. So we know you're interested in that, and it's connected to AI. Finally, ethical and legal alignment means that you're ensuring confidentiality, addressing potential bias, and confirming that your professional indemnity insurance covers AI-related activities. These are the key principles shaping compliance, and in the next few slides, we'll unpack what each of them means in practice in a little bit more detail. I'm going to have a look at the chat and the questions part. So feel free to pop questions in like Vanessa has, but I won't stop the webinar to do that. We'll just keep cracking through. Accountability. So a deep dive into accountability. It's the foundation of Ahpra's new guidance. Even when you use AI tools in your practice, whether that's for diagnostics, documentation, or administrative support, you remain completely responsible for your patient's outcomes. Ahpra is very clear on this point. Accountability can't be delegated to AI. If an AI system makes an error, or if its use contributes to an adverse outcome, responsibility still sits with the practitioner. We have heard of mistakes like including or not including the word not, as I mentioned just before, which can dramatically change the outcomes for a patient or the next steps that you would recommend to a patient as a practitioner. That's why it's essential to stay aware of how AI influences your clinical decisions and your documentation. Always review any AI-generated notes, diagnostics, or summaries before they become part of the patient record. In short, AI can support your work, but it can't replace your professional judgment, your duty of care, or your professional obligations. Understanding is about due diligence. Before using any AI system in your practice, you need to understand how it works, what it's designed to do, and what its limitations are, and how it handles the data that you're putting into it. Be aware that AI tools are only as good as the data they're trained on. If that data contains biases, those biases can carry through into patient care. That's why it's important to ask questions about where the data comes from and whether the system has been tested across diverse populations. You should also know where and how patient data is stored and whether the tool is appropriate for your specific patient group or clinical context. In 2024, iMed, a major Australian diagnostic imaging provider, partnered with Annalise.ai to develop an artificial intelligence model for interpreting clinical scans. The Office of the Australian Information Commissioner, or OAIC, investigated concerns about the sharing of patient scans for this purpose, particularly the absence of patient notification and consent. The OAIC determined that because the data had been effectively de-identified before being provided to Annalise.ai, it no longer qualified as personal information under the Privacy Act and did not trigger legal requirements for consent. However, the Commissioner noted that careful governance and ongoing risk assessment remain crucial for compliance, even when you're working with de-identified data. Ultimately, using AI responsibly means not just trusting the technology, but understanding it so you can make informed, ethical, and clinically sound decisions. Transparency is central to maintaining patient trust. Patients have a right to know when AI is part of their care, whether it's assisting with diagnosis, documentation, or clinical decision-making. This doesn't mean that you need to explain the technical workings of the tool, but you should communicate clearly and in plain language what role AI is playing. For example, if an AI system is recording or scribing your consultations, that must be disclosed upfront. Being transparent isn't just good practice, it's a professional obligation under Ahpra's Code of Conduct. Additionally, the new privacy reforms mandate that privacy policies must also disclose any use of automated decision-making that could significantly affect a patient's rights or interests. And it's something for you to think about talking to your CRM or practice management people about whether or not there are automated decision-making that you're including in your practice, either willingly or unwillingly, by people being able to sign up through a third party to make appointments with your practitioners, because this might be an area that there's automated decision-making happening that maybe you're not aware of, as these third parties that we all use start incorporating AI more into their business models. By being open about how AI supports your work and aware of it so that you can be transparent, you help patients feel informed, respected, and confident in the care that they receive. If an AI system handles patient data in any way, consent must be informed, but must be obtained before it's used. Patients need to understand how their information will be used, stored, and whether it may be shared or contribute to AI training. This conversation should be clear and in plain language with no jargon. Consent should always be documented in the patient's record, and your consent forms should be reviewed and updated regularly as new technologies or systems are introduced. And we found that we're doing that a lot at the moment with AI, and some changes in relation to how the psychology code is working for practitioners as well. So that's definitely coming across our desk a lot at the moment. Ultimately, informed consent ensures patients remain in control of their data, reinforcing trust and compliance with both Ahpra's Code of Conduct and the privacy law obligations. Oh dear, now I've lost my spot. That's no good. All right, informed consent. Now we are on to these ethical and legal considerations. Ethical and legal considerations are central to using AI safely in healthcare. Practitioners must ensure that any AI tools they adopt align with the ethical principles and legal frameworks set out in their national board's code of conduct. That means protecting patient confidentiality and complying with all relevant privacy and data protection laws. It also means ensuring the AI systems you use are consistent with current legislation and regulatory requirements for healthcare technology. Be aware of biases in AI models, particularly those that might affect Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples or other diverse communities, and only use these tools when they're appropriate and validated for your patient population. Finally, confirm that your professional indemnity insurance extends to all AI-related activities within your practice. These steps help ensure that innovation supports ethical, equitable, and legally compliant care, keeping both your practitioners and patients protected as technology evolves. So what does this mean for your practice? Well, when it comes to regulation, not all AI tools are treated the same under Australian law. Some AI systems, such as diagnostic or clinical decision-making tools, are classified as therapeutic goods and must comply with the TGA regulatory standards before being used in practice. However, many of the generative or administrative AI tools now used in clinics, such as AI scribes or referral generators, fall outside the TGA regulation because they're not designed for a therapeutic purpose. This doesn't mean that they escape scrutiny. Rather, it places greater responsibility on practitioners to ensure these tools are used safely and appropriately. That involves understanding how the system operates, what data it collects, and whether it's suitable for your clinical setting. So, if you are a clinician using a diagnostic or treatment support AI system, you must check that it appears on the ARTG and that you are using it within its intended purpose. If an AI tool you're using has not been registered, you are not directly responsible for that, but you could face professional consequences if using a non-compliant or unsafe product breaches your duty of care, Ahpra code of conduct or professional standards, negligence exposure if harm results and the tool's lack of regulatory approval contributed to that harm, disciplinary action from your professional board or failing to exercise appropriate clinical judgment and due diligence. The Medical Board of Australia's Code of Conduct 2020 expects practitioners to verify any device or software used in patient care that is evidence-based. So keep these things in mind because they are very important. So what does this mean for your practice in terms of practical application? Well, first, we suggest reviewing your AI use policy to make sure it reflects how AI is being applied in your daily operations. And you might have done that a year or so ago, but as we know, AI is developing very quickly and its use is becoming more ubiquitous in businesses around Australia. So make sure that it is consistent with Ahpra's guidance. If your practice doesn't yet have an AI policy, I highly recommend you create one, as it's one of the biggest risks with AI isn't just the technology itself, but it's how people use it. And we recognise that and we've created what we call a fast track solution. So it's on our website. It's called the Artificial Intelligence Policy on our website, and you can buy one from there. It's available to purchase. When it comes to AI, people are always the biggest risk, and having a policy can protect the practice, ensuring the technology is being used in accordance with the expectations of the practice owners. Next, update your privacy policy and consent forms to disclose any use of AI tools, particularly where data is being processed or automated decisions are being made. Now is a good time to be updating privacy policies with the recent changes to the legislation. We've been sent through dozens of them following our webinar from last month, and none of them have complied with the new legislation. And we were offering a complimentary check of them and found that, you know, people just hadn't updated them, which was a little bit alarming, but at the same time understandable because medical and allied health practices at the moment have just so many changes that they're dealing with. So we're never upset. We just like you to be informed. So the next step is to check your professional indemnity insurance covers AI-related activities, including documentation, diagnostic support, or administrative tools. And it might also be other insurances that your business has that you think cover this. In that case, you should check those too, because there have been significant changes in cyber policies, and you know, you just want to make sure that you've got the protection that you initially thought you signed up for. Insurance policies do change from year to year. Make sure you train your team on responsible AI use. Have staff participate in training programs and attend webinars to enhance their knowledge. ULegal has written several blog posts on this topic because we are seeing it as a huge trend in the industry. And you're welcome to share around this webinar recording. It will be emailed to you in the next couple of days. Finally, strengthen your knowledge by staying up to date with the Ahpra announcements, and you're welcome, of course, to subscribe to the ULegal newsletter for insights on emerging compliance and regulatory changes. These simple steps will help ensure that your practice is using AI confidently, safely, and in line with the evolving professional standards. This case is a great example of how we help healthcare clients adapt to emerging technologies. One of our long-term psychology clients came to us wanting to update their client details form and privacy policy to reflect new AI use in their practice. We recommended reviewing their consent forms, developing an AI policy for the business, since human error, as I've said a few times, poses the biggest risk for business owners, and updating the company privacy policy. A few days later, the client provided us with their existing policy, and after a thorough review, we scoped a proposal outlining the scope of work. This included updating the client details form and privacy policy to account for the collection and use of personal information by the AI tool, incorporating a link to the AI tool's privacy policy and offering a Zoom or telephone conference to address any questions and gather feedback on the updated documents. The client quickly moved forward. They wanted assistance quickly, so we did that, and the client approved the updates without any changes, later leaving this Google review praising our responsiveness and support. It's a simple example of how the right legal advice can help practices confidently and safely integrate AI into your everyday operations. So, your key takeaways from this webinar. Complying with Ahpra's AI guidance isn't just about meeting legal requirements. It's about strengthening your practice. While many practices operate with independent practitioners, and we are hearing that the independent practitioners are implementing and paying for their own AI solutions, as a practice, the practice still has an overarching responsibility under workplace health and safety, privacy, and safety frameworks as well. So practice owners must ensure that premises and systems provide a safe, compliant environment for all staff, contractors, and patients. This includes ensuring that only compliant and appropriate AI tools are used within your practice ecosystem. Data security and privacy obligations are upheld for all patient information that's processed by AI systems. Clear policies, ensuring covering notes of generative AI, including drafting notes, letters, or advice, particularly ensuring no patient identifiable data is entered into non-secure or overseas held systems. Risk and governance oversight, such as internal audits or technology registers, are in place to track what tools are being used, by whom, and for what purpose. When AI is used transparently and responsibly, you build patient trust and enhance your reputation as a reliable, forward-thinking provider. It also reduces legal and regulatory risk, giving you confidence that your practice is protected as the technology evolves. And finally, it demonstrates leadership, showing you're committed to ethical innovation and setting the standard for how AI can be safely used in healthcare. If there's one message that I want to leave you with today, it's this: embrace AI, but do it safely, ethically, and within the law. Accountability always rests with you as the practitioner, no matter how advanced the technology becomes. Consent and transparency are non-negotiable parts of ethical practice, and it's essential to understand your tools, not just trust them. Finally, keep your policies and staff training up to date. AI is evolving quickly, and so are the legal and professional expectations that come with it. Staying informed is the best way to keep your practice both compliant and future ready. And as we know, in terms of being future ready, the law can take some time to catch up with an evolving world. And so we've seen recent changes to the Privacy Act The first changes in 10 years. And if you think about the technology transformations that have happened in the last 10 years, it is amazing that the regulations really were focused on a previous generation of technology, weren't they? It's only now that they're starting to catch up, and they'll continue to evolve, I'm sure. Next steps for you, a quick reminder of the steps we've already discussed. Make sure you develop or update your AI policy, review your consent and privacy documents, and train your team so everyone understands their obligations when using AI. Finally, conduct an AI risk assessment to identify any gaps or areas for improvement. Taking these simple steps now will help ensure your practice stays compliant, protected, and confident as AI evolves into the future. As I mentioned earlier, we have this fast track solution. The link is in this slide for the preparation of an AI policy available to purchase from our website with the following link. What the policy does is provide clear guidance to help your medical or allied health practice use AI safely, ethically, and effectively, covering safeguards for patient care. Oh, I flipped 2 slides ahead, sorry. So it'll cover the safeguards for patient care, data privacy, transparency, bias, and more. If you would like to pay using an invoice, we're happy to arrange that. You can just reply to one of the emails that I've sent you. And if you'd like support updating your privacy policy, consent forms, or other documentation, you're able to email me by responding to one of the emails I've been sending you, or my email address is on the next slide, sarah@ulegal.com.au. We can then prepare a tailored proposal chat. You can pop them in the chat box. So let's use the next few minutes that we have together to cover those. Thanks again for joining me. The use of AI is a very important topic, particularly in this technological age that we're living in. So if you'd like to talk further, you can reach me at my email address mentioned here, visit our website. But I'm hoping that you leave today with a bit more clarity and confidence on your next steps. Oh, you can't see the link. That's annoying. You can see, okay, all right, you had a setting wrong. I've also got this Facebook group, You Legal for Doctors. You're very welcome to join if you're not in there. And let me look at the questions that have come through as well. All right. Does using something like Core Plus require us to disclose this to client? As I don't believe this is AI, but now I'm not so sure. So it's likely something that should be disclosed in your privacy policy, Vanessa. I need to understand a little bit more about what it does and how it uses it. You could even ask Core Plus that question. They might be able to answer you about what AI they use, if they do, and how that should be disclosed to patients as well. Vanessa says, if a client consents and agrees for credit card details to be stored, is this legal? I can't give legal advice on this call, Vanessa, but it's a good question. You could have a 15-minute complimentary meeting with our team, and we could probably have a chat about that further on a one-on-one. That might help you answer that question. All right, everyone. Oh, thank you, Hayley, for your comments. Laura too. All right, Lloyd says he put something in the Q&A section. All right, I better check that as well, just to make sure there's nothing else there that I've missed. Can you clarify the comment with regards to regulatory approval of AI tools? Was that just for those that fall into the therapeutic category, or is there regulatory approval of other tools as well as AI scribes? So AI scribes are not therapeutic tools. You're right. It is just for those that are in the therapeutic category. And so AI scribes aren't, and so they don't need that TGA approval. It's just about being aware I'm at the end of my questions. I'm at the end of my time. Thank you so much, everyone, for your engagement today and coming along. I know it's a big week. Many of you will be going to the AIPM conference, I'm sure, but I'm sorry to miss you there this year. I love seeing you all in person, but thanks for your feedback, and thanks, of course, and I'll see you next month. Next month, we're actually addressing a psychology change. So for those of you with allied health professionals in your offices and those of you who practice in psychology, there's a lot of changes happening in that area as well. So we want to make sure people are across those. Next month's webinar is in my calendar already. Let me have a look, Vanessa, because you're asking. It is on the 25th of November, which is 1 month before Christmas. Can you believe it? So same time for everyone next month as well, 25th of November, from consent to complaints. It's called How Psychologists Need to Get Ready for the Changes that are coming their way. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of the day, and I look forward to being in touch with you. Bye.